This is CHSR 97.9 FM here in Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. This is Python's Paradise, your film and music show, and this is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena. And folks, I am now an associate producer on Hearts of Darkness, the making of the final Friday. I've had Adam Marcus and Deborah Sullivan on here twice now, and they were both, of course, involved in a movie called Secret Santa, which I loved. Considering there's a lot of horror films I haven't liked that have been out, you know. A lot of them with the really bad jump scares, you know. Like there's one coming out with an app that counts down your lifespan and this and that. And I'm kind of like not interested. I would have taken Secret Santa on the big screen over that. But I got Secret Santa on Blu-ray and loved it. And it's got some great music in it. And my guest today not only did the music in Secret Santa, but he's also doing the music in Hearts of Darkness, the making of the final Friday. I'm honored to have this guy on the show. Folks, I give you Tim Eilers. How you do, Tim?
I'm doing great, Greg. Thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah, well, I love that kind of that heavy metal heavy metal sound that you had in a couple of songs on Secret Santa. Like, I had to ask Adam who you were.
Oh, he mentioned that. I know what you're talking about. It's when Ryan's character is driving in a van,
and at the end as well.
It's kind of at the false start of the movie.
Yeah.
And I think it's where she changes the radio station. She says F Christmas, and all of a sudden Adam had temp tracked that part with Du Hast from Rammstein. Mm-hmm. And I believe that's the song you're talking about, because I think that's the only song on there with really heavy guitars and drums. But here, you know, he had temp tracked it with Du Hast, which is hardcore German, you know, techno rock. So we came up with our version of Du Hast. Mm-hmm. So that was a lot of fun. Yeah, you threw me a few curves.
I like that, you know, and I'm going to tell you, that scene where she's driving there, you know, and F Christmas, like, the moment she turns that on, it just sets the tone right there, what this movie's all about.
That's yeah, because everything you had heard up to that point is traditional Christmas music and, you know, choirs performing what you would expect from a holiday season, and it takes that left turn. So yeah, I'm glad that worked for you. That was Adam's call completely.
Well, I loved it. Even at the end of the movie where that plays, you know, like I let that song just play before I ever hit stop or anything, you know, because I just love that. It's so unlike something you hear for a Christmas film, but yet it fits the atmosphere of this perfectly.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah. Talk about doing that, you know, and putting that together.
So, yeah, you know, with almost everything I've done with Adam, and even with the stuff that we're working on now, I usually have a script, and we're talking music before he's even shot a single frame. Mm-hmm. The setting the musical tone is really important to Adam, and where it's possible, he really likes to have something to play for the cast, for anybody who's operating camera, anybody who's going to be editing, anybody who's creatively involved. He likes having the atmosphere set. This is the tone of the film. So we started very early on, and I think it was, we did another interview. Oh, it was there's on the Blu-ray. There's a whole making of the film.
Oh yeah, watch that.
and I don't know if they kept this quote, but I remember admitting I think I had thrown away more music on Secret Santa than I had written in the previous 5 or 10 years combined. We had a little bit of time, and so I was glad to do that. So with Adam and I, it was kind of a little bit of searching. He had an idea early on that there was going to be traditional Christmas music with kind of a bit of attitude, and we started with that, and then it kind of morphed into, you know what, that's as the film started coming together, and we did get footage, and we had all these fantastic performances from the actors and actresses, that actually started to step on the scene a little bit, and then we dialed it back and we did traditional, public domain Christmas songs, but I did all the arrangements, and we had all the cast come in and sing. Everybody came into my studio at one time or another, and we did a bunch of songs. Well, then it turned out that having vocals going on during the thing was actually still too distracting. So we dialed it back even further. It was kind of this reductive process. And so for the bulk of the movie, during the dinner scenes and everything, while the whole thing is getting set up, there's just this traditional instrumental music playing. Now, for everything else, the actual film score. Now, that's an important thing because it really kind of roots you in the season. So there's that familiarity. You hear songs that arranged in kind of typical ways, kind of like stuff that you would normally hear on NPR or whatever.
Yep.
But for the rest of it, that was where it really got fun. And Adam and I would, it's always a conversation. John Carpenter came up a lot, and both Adam and I love John Carpenter as a filmmaker.
Agreed.
And so a lot of times we tried to go with that driving simplicity. But, for the fight scenes, it was full on James Horner, just let it go. So yeah, it was really fun working with Adam. A lot of late night conversations, a lot of revisions, a lot of, this is good, but we need to throw it away. Let's go for the best. The best that we can possibly do. And it really worked out.
Did you go up to Big Bear in the big snowstorm and watch the snow blower get broke?
I would have loved to. I was very sick at the time, and
so was the family in this film.
I would have been in good company, right?
Yeah.
I was bummed I wasn't actually able to be there because they needed all hands, but I was laid up for quite a few weeks, so I wasn't able to join, which would have been fun. Next time.
Yeah, I have fun with this movie. It's just I've had Adam Marcus on a couple of times, and I've had Deborah Sullivan on a couple.
I listened to your interview with him and Deb, and then Adams, and then you did Deb individually. That's awesome.
Yeah, I did Adam individually first, and then I caught Deb. It was December 27th, a couple years ago. And then I had them both come on together because I wanted to get a feel of their chemistry, So I had them come on together and talk. And I think I'm going to have Deb come on again probably in December to talk about 13 Fanboy because I'm also part of that as well. So
yes, congratulations on that. That's awesome, brother.
Yeah, it's funny because I didn't even have to leave here to do any of that, so I'm fine.
That's great.
Yep.
I actually just recently watched the trailer for that. It's fantastic. I love the underwater stuff with Jason. I was like, whoa, these guys are serious.
13 Fanboy didn't have underwater stuff with Jason.
There was wasn't there a trailer where somebody dives into the lake? The girl dives in.
Oh yeah. Okay. I think you're talking about an early trailer for it. Okay. Well, she did come up with a teaser trailer. Debbie did. So.
That's what that was.
Yeah. Well, anyway,
it should be a fantastic project. I mean, you guys are going to knock it out.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So, and I'm happy to be involved in Hearts of Darkness, and I love Secret Santa. I heard he hasn't come out and talked details, but I think he wants to do kind of a follow up to this, kind of set at a wedding on Easter, and I'm kind of like, yeah, do it.
Oh, yeah. Now that you mention it, he had said that once, and I'm glad to hear he still got that, in the back of his mind, because that would be a blast.
Yeah, my favorite. I gotta tell you, my favorite scene in Secret Santa is such a small thing, and I said it to Adam on Facebook today during my break, and my favorite scene is where you see Deborah Sullivan and Pat Destro cackling at each other. And I'm going to tell you, just the image of Deborah Sullivan's mouth being that wide.
Oh, both of them. They're making fun of their daughter because she's an alcoholic, and they were making fun of the 12 steps, and then they turn to each other and just bust out. It's so vicious and so damn funny. It is one of my favorite moments too. It always cracks me up.
Yeah. I said to Adam, I said, you got to have Deb do that in every film you have her in.
Right?
Yeah, I'd get a kick out of that.
And not to, I think it comes immediately after that. Another scene that I've having worked on this film, I've seen it 100 times, still cracks me up, is when Nate walks by Jackson walks by Kyle and nut punches him.
Yep.
It makes him spit up his wine. I'm sorry if I'm giving a spoiler to people, but you still won't see it coming, and it's still going to make you laugh. It's just one of those moments, just brilliant.
Another scene I love is the introductory of, actually it's the second scene with Curtis Fortier, where
oh yeah, sure.
He walks out of the washroom and goes, I was bound up something awful.
Yeah, almost everybody either has a family or knows of a family member who's exactly like that, completely inappropriate, clueless. Yeah, he played that so well.
Yeah. Oh, well, I had fun with this movie. It was so ridiculous. It was so over the top, and I loved it. Even like the people playing the help in the movie. Like, I love it when the female is sitting in the van there, and she's already had the punch, and she's doing those little rap music movements. Like,
oh, yes, yeah. Everybody played their parts really, really well, and Freddie, the head chef, I'm sure Adam mentioned this, but
yep.
He was also the stunt coordinator. Great actor, super good guy, but man, the stunts, people are flying, there's all sorts of stuff going on that makes it look completely natural. Mm-hmm. The fight scenes are so well choreographed, and that's Freddie, man. He is the man.
Of course, some of the lines of dialogue, I mentioned Curtis though, but Deborah Sullivan had a line of dialogue that just cracked me up where she said, no, she tries to get offer, I don't know, a drink of some sort to A. Leslie Keyes, and she says, when I drink, I become an asshole. And she goes, well, you're not drinking now, so what's your excuse?
Right? Yeah. And that's where the whole, like, the plot of the movie is starting to become, more and more apparent. The tongues are loosening, and yeah, it's a great line.
I love it. Yeah, I watched that movie and I'm like, why wasn't this in theaters? It bothers me when I see really good movies not in theaters, because I've seen a lot of bad horror films, ones that don't deliver. They focus on a lot of jump scares and
right.
Yeah, like sometimes you get something really good. I like Don't Breathe, for example. That was really good, but there's a lot of them I find that aren't working, and it's like they go for the well way too often. So Secret Santa, like I know Adam told me about, unless you're a Marvel or a superhero movie or a Star Wars movie, it's hard to get something released, and I think that's a shame.
It is, and the stuff that does get released, kind of you're so bound to any a previous formula, because they the investors want to be guaranteed of their returns, so they don't like you taking risks. I was surprised the movie Annihilation surprised me on a lot of levels, because
loved it. Yeah,
I did too.
Yeah.
Musically, I thought it was fantastic. I forgot the composer's names. I'm gonna have to look that up, but that one was willing to be weird and inexplicable and really take some chances and make it surprised me that the studios backed it as far as they did, and but more often than not, you don't see those in the theaters. And I get it; it's a money-making machine. If we're not going for that, we get to make the film that we want, which I think is more important.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, it's a shame that you don't get to see it with a big group of people. And that's something that I think that's the one thing that is the most unfortunate. And I think movies like this are meant to be seen with a crowd. But barring that, we still get to make the movies that we want, and we're not beholden to that much investment interest where they can, make our decisions for us. So,
well, Annihilation also had Natalie Portman.
Well.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, Annihilation also had Natalie Portman in it, so.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it had a lot going for it. But,
yeah.
I think the point I was trying to make is it took some unusual risks that I was delighted to see that don't happen very often.
Yeah, absolutely. But before I talk more about Secret Santa, though, I wanted to get a little bit of your background and who your influences are in terms of composing and creating your craft.
Well, sure. We mentioned John Carpenter, and that was one that came up a lot in my conversations with Adam. But okay, that's a good one. Early on, movies that influenced me. Of course, it's like anything with Jerry Goldsmith or John Williams. Those are givens. But some of the other standout ones were, say, the first time I heard Christopher Young, Hellraiser.
Okay.
Really impressed me because it's a beautiful and really dynamic score. It gets very soft. It gets very big. But it's also very pretty for a movie that is bloody.
Yeah.
And terrifying and wonderful. But that Christopher Young really impressed me very early on. Was also a big fan of Tangerine Dream.
Risky Business.
Risky Business. Yeah. Thief, I think, was my all-time favorite Michael Mann's movie.
Mm-hmm.
And The Keep, I also like that one. That was Tangerine Dream again. Back in the 80s when the animation Akira came out, I became a very big fan of Shoji Yamashiro, which him and his group, Yamashiro Gumi, did all the music for that animation, and I started collecting. A little hard to find, but I started collecting everything they'd ever done, and that completely changed the way I thought about music. I was very, very impressed with that. And more recently, like some of the television composers, he's television and now movies, but Bear McCreary did Battlestar Galactica. I think the most recently things you did was one of the Godzilla movies.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like whenever I'm binging on TV and all of a sudden I hear something, I'll pause it and I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Who did it? His name pops up. And so there's a lot, there's so much amazing talent out there. I guess it's just what speaks to you personally.
What about Pino Donaggio, I think is how you pronounce his name? He did the scores for Dress to Kill and Carrie.
Let me look that up.
Well, those were Brian De Palma movies. Those were very interesting scores.
I'm not familiar. I'm going to have to start paying some attention. Yeah, Pino Donaggio.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm curious.
Well, I definitely recommend his... What's that?
I'll get back to you.
Yeah, well, I definitely recommend the music he created, especially for Dress to Kill. You mentioned soothing music. Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah, I guess I like it when music takes a turn that you don't expect. Trying to remember if it was Howard Shore. You remember that movie The Cell? Jennifer Rodriguez was the main character in it. Howard Shore, it was really interesting because he, whenever you talk about jump scares, wherever there should have been like a jump scare and a big music stinger, he would do the musically the complete opposite. It seemed to me like when I listened to it very closely, he took a lot of opposite action on that I thought was really effective, and it's a beautiful score too. I mean, I don't think the guy's ever done anything bad.
Are you talking about The Cell with Jennifer Lopez?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Jennifer Lopez.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said Jennifer. That's somebody in my Rolodex, actually.
There you go. No. So now you're scoring these films, and you did Secret Santa, and to continue on with that, where did you first encounter Adam, and talk about meeting him?
Oh, that's interesting. Let's see. Would have been in the mid 90s, maybe early 90s, and I was living at this converted, what's called the brewery. It used to be the Pabst Blue Ribbon Brewery. It was a bunch of artist lofts, and a really cool place, lots of people in one location, and I got to know some of my neighbors who had just moved in. A couple of young guys had moved down from Portland.
Okay.
And, everybody kind of hung out, left their doors open, and it was like, whatever. So one of the guys, how did this work out? He comes over when he's reading a script, and he's like, I'm in this acting class. I'm working with this guy, Adam Marcus. It's great. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. I had no idea. But he sees, he sees I've got a full music studio upstairs, and I'm, plunking away, and he goes, you should meet Adam. And I was like, sure, that'd be great. And I'm not sure in what, but I think he might have asked Adam if it was okay if I read the script. And he goes, no, you got to read this. And it was a script that he had written called Gravity.
Okay.
And I read it, and I was like, geez, this is good. And then I found out that it's like, oh, Adam was the guy that did Jason Goes to Hell. Oh, okay, now it's all coming into picture. And I met Adam within like a week or so after that, and we were talking, and I told him how much I liked the script, and he was just like the nicest guy. We just hit it off right away. And I said, well, I write a little bit of music. Do you mind if I take a stab at writing some music for Gravity? I had some ideas. He was like, please, by all means. And that's how Adam is. Is like he's really encouraging. He didn't ask me for a bio and a resume. He was like, man, show me what you got.
Awesome.
It took me about 3 or 4 days to come up with something, workable, and sat down with him again a few days later, and immediately, he's like, this is great, and immediately starts giving me notes back, and we went through all these revisions, and within a very short period of time, we had this incredible dialogue, a really good rapport, and the end result, and I will say this with everything I've done with Adam, I look at it, it is a musical collaboration, because there's so much conversation and so much dialing in. Everything that I work with him on gets better and better. He sets the bar high. He's not afraid to ask for something that, on my own, I might think that's too much trouble. That's a lot of work. And he was like, so do it. And I'm never sorry. It always works out great. And so we did this body of work, and through circumstances, I wound up moving, and Gravity wound up being made at that time, and he was busy, I was busy. We kind of lost touch, and years later, I always kept an eye out for him, but I wound up getting married and moving out into the valley and whatever else. He reaches out to me, I think it was in 2015. So long time later, and tells me that they're forming this company, Skeleton Crew, and he says, to this day, I still use the music that we wrote together all the time, on all my trailers, on all my so some of my most favorite stuff that I've ever done with any composer. And if you have any interest at all, we would love to have you on. And his timing was perfect, and there was not even a moment's hesitation. It was like, absolutely. And we've been tied at the hip ever since. It's been really, really good and very steady.
Okay. And of course, we got to talk about Deborah Sullivan. She really brings a flair to that movie.
I'm sorry, in Secret Santa?
Yeah.
Absolutely, she's brilliant. And Deb's an absolute dear. She is one of my closest friends.
Mm-hmm.
We're both Star Trek geeks, so we get to talk about that while Adam rolls his eyes and smiles at both of us, and he's like, "You're dark."
Yeah, I think she's great in this. This was really the first time I had seen her, Like when I interviewed Adam, like I heard about the problems they had with Val Kilmer on Conspiracy and stuff like that. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Well, that was actually kind of the impetus for our producer Brian Sexton and for Adam and Deb to form Skeleton Crew in the first place. So I'm grateful to Val that he was such a pain in the neck, because he was the final straw.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, I liked her in this, and of course I do know that there's a few other people I got to point out here. I could pretty much point out everybody, but I love Michelle Renee Allaire, and boy, she had a cool death scene in the movie.
Oh, wasn't that the best?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, Bob Berkman, he nailed it. I mean, he did not have a lot to work with, and did not have a lot of time. But man, he made every drop of blood count.
Yeah, no, I liked her in it, and any other performance you want to point out? A. Leslie Keyes was really good in this.
A is brilliant. I mean, just take a moment about her. She can be really endearing. She can turn on the waterworks like just an absolute pro. It's amazing the range of emotion that she can pull out so effortlessly. And yeah, she was really good. Plus, her very last scene, all of a sudden you get this maniacal scream out of her that comes out of nowhere. I don't want to give anything away, but it's the very last freeze frame of her in the film. It's just, yeah, it's brilliant. But there's not a weak performance in the whole bunch. But I think everybody gets their moment, which I think is really important.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, to say, is there a standout? There's moments for everybody.
Yeah.
They all make me laugh, and all make me cringe. There's, like you said, there's the two girls laughing. The shovel hit to the head. Now, I'm not talking about the one to the neck later, but it's where one of the neighbors, she takes a shovel in the face.
Yeah.
Man, she sells that. She really does. And the sound effect, which was actually not something we added in, somehow that sound got picked up on camera. It just happened at the right time. It was the weirdest thing, but you get this, boom. It's brilliant. So even the people who played the neighbors, which is Will Dixon and Tracy Dorolay, they're not on screen for very long, but they just nail it. And I can't say enough about the performances and the quality of the actors on this movie, because they've all worked together. Most of them worked together a long time in Adam's class, and it shows. I mean, their interactions are really genuine.
Well, we got to talk about another film that you're involved with, Drew Lynch, Did I Stutter? Because he, of course, is one of the people in Secret Santa. Yeah, he plays the stuttering son, and he is kind of, in a way, the most innocent out of the bunch in that movie.
Yeah, I think that's actually pretty astute. Yeah, of all of them, he is the one who is probably blameless. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yep. Now, I'm noticing here that it's called Drew Lynch, Did I Stutter? And of course, he has a real life stutter, and I love how that is able to be used to his advantage, as opposed to have him shrink out of sight over it. I like it how he takes his disadvantage and turns it into a strength.
Yeah, it's incredible. His whole story is really amazing.
Well, I noticed Howie Mandel's mentioned in this as well. How did he come to be part of this?
Drew, I mean, he had a career before, but after his accident where he was hit hit in the neck, fell. I believe he hit his head and got a concussion, and he didn't know he had one, and he did what you're not supposed to do. Went home and went to sleep, and woke up, and the trauma caused this stutter that just did not go away. I'm probably oversimplifying that horribly, but that's the gist of it. And so brilliantly, he makes the decision to go into comedy and capitalize on this. Once his speech improved enough, because apparently it was so bad at first that it would have been difficult to do that, but he improved enough where he was able to do stand-up. And then he got on America's Got Talent, which Howie Mandel was one of the judges, and he just passed him through right away. He fell in love with him and became one of Drew's biggest champions. And stayed that way. And the throughout the show, I think Drew made it to the very end, and it was between him and one other person, and the other person, got the big prize. But what Drew got out of it was this relationship with Howie and a lot of notoriety and a lot of public love. And so when the special came up, Howie was like, "Yeah, I'll fly out there. I'll absolutely, introduce your show." And he was happy to pitch in.
Oh, nice.
It was really cool. It makes me think he's probably a really genuinely nice guy.
Talk about your relationship with Drew Lynch.
I don't have one.
Well, this sounds like the reason
I've met Drew briefly a couple of times throughout the whole time that I was working on his special. I was actually working more directly with Adam on that. And
okay.
It's just anecdotally, the funny thing is early on when I started working with Skeleton Crew, there were several times, and Pat Destro, who had that laughing scene with Deb, is a really good example.
Okay.
I've been working on this movie day and night for months, and like I said, watched it 100 times through all the different edits, and was working on it every day. So I got invited to some function, and Pat walks up, and of course I'd seen her a million times. I'm Pat, and I gave her a big hug, and she was like, "Who are you?" And I was like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. We've never met." Half the people, I felt like I knew them so well because I'd been spending months watching them every day. I've forgotten which people I knew and which people I didn't.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. I'm the composer. I goofed. I've seen you, every day for the last, 2 months straight, and I forgot we haven't met. We had a good laugh about that. So I think Drew was kind of the same thing. I think I went up and scared him one day because I was like, "Drew," clapped him on the back, and he's like, "Who are you?" I'm like, sorry, I'm Tim. I'm the composer." And then he was really, really sweet, really nice. But we've only had 3 or 4 conversations the entire time I've been involved with Skeleton Crew.
Okay, because I noticed this is like 2 films that and this one here focuses on him. That's why I thought that you had a close friendship with him.
Right, and that was Adam's call, and Drew completely supported it. He was fine with it, but he was also fine letting Adam work with me directly and work out the music. And of course he heard what we did and had some input, but I can't remember why. Something was going on where I wasn't able to be part of those those conversations.
Okay. All right. Well, let's talk about Hearts of Darkness, the making of the Final Friday. I remember talking to you yesterday, and you said you didn't know about that early issue of Fangoria magazine that had Jason Goes to Hell on the cover.
Right.
Did you talk to Adam about that?
I have not. I'm curious. I kind of wanted to see if I could find a copy of it on eBay and surprise him with it, but I don't know. I still got to do some digging.
Okay. Well, of course, this is another one part of Skeleton Crew, and I am involved with this one as well. I'm on as an associate producer. And I didn't know if I was going to make it as part of this film because I've been involved in a few, and And it costs me money. I don't make money off it. But it looks good on the resume. But yeah, I work. Despite what people think, there's people out there that think I make money doing these interviews. No, at least not right now. And I work a regular job, so when I become part of these films, it ends up coming out of my pocket. But with Hearts of Darkness, it was just kind of the same with 13 Fanboy. It's like, oh man, I like these people. And with Hearts of Darkness, it was really the relationship between Adam and Deborah that really was a pulling force for me on that, you know. And I like the chemistry they have together. They seem to have a good relationship. I was like, I got to be part of this.
Oh, that's wonderful, man. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. And of course, Adam is not directing this film. Edwin Samuelson is on as director. And I have not talked to him yet, but I think he's somebody I'm eventually here going to reach out to. There's a number of people.
Yeah, I saw one of his Facebook Live feeds, and yeah, Edwin's. I look forward to meeting him.
Well, there's a number of faces in this I do recognize. Have you met any of them outside of Adam and Deb?
I have not. I have not met Deborah Voorhees, which I know I'm going to. I think I missed her by like one get together I didn't make, and she was there. But no, I would love to meet any of these folks, and I'm going to be as involved as I possibly can be. Because we're doing this on a shoestring, I will probably also be helping out with any of the motion graphics, and like Adam and I do that in between stuff. We trade. He'll jump on Photoshop. I'll jump on After Effects. Whatever needs to be done, we make it happen. And so, yeah, I'll be up to my elbows in this one.
I've had Debbie Sue Voorhees on 4 times on here.
4 times.
Yep,
That's awesome.
4 times. We talked about 13 Fanboy this year, so she's a delight. As far as what's that?
I bet she is. She seems like she'd be a really cool person. Everybody says nice things about her, that's for sure.
Yep. But from Jason Goes to Hell, the only interview so far I've done was with Adam Marcus, and he's great, very, very open. One thing that just gets me, I'm really sad of the tension that erupted between he and Sean S. Cunningham. And I saw and Adam and I, of course, talked about this, where Sean was at one of the conventions doing a panel, and I think the rest of the story, where things were said, and I can just imagine how crushed Adam was with that. Have you met Sean?
I think he tried to stay above the fray for a long time, and then just got sick of taking it on the chin, which I think anybody would. Mm-hmm. And I do not expect that Hearts of Darkness is going to be a let's beat up on Sean fest, but Adam's definitely going to stick up for himself, which I think is past due.
I think he definitely should. Should definitely stick up for him. I laughed at. I said to Adam in a private message, I said, "Is the poster going to say 2 thumbs up by Sean S. Cunningham and Val Kilmer?"
Probably not.
Well, I think it's. Well, I'll say this. I think it's safe to say that Sean was not his worst experience. I think Val was his worst experience.
Well, I think the cool thing about Adam, and it's really required in this industry, is you got to love what you do, and there's always a way. It's like that. It was Adam prefers to focus on the stuff. Like I said, the whole thing with Val Kilmer, it was all of that nonsense, just babysitting horse shit. Sorry,
yep.
Nonsense.
Oh, go ahead. You can swear.
Wasn't quite sure of the rules here, but But that was, like I said, that was the impetus for having formed Skeleton Crew in the first place. And, so, with Sean, at the end of the day, Adam got to direct this movie, part of a huge franchise, and that's his takeaway. In spite of all the bad stuff with Sean, it still was an amazing opportunity, and he's still got all of these fans. I know I'm pretty sure I heard him say he has not seen $1 in points from the film, which that to me is just mind-boggling. But it happens.
Well, it's interesting you say that.
Make your own movies.
It's interesting you say that, because I interviewed Terry McMinn from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre recently, and she said she gets more royalties out of the footage of the original film in Texas Chainsaw 3D.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, it can be a little disheartening, but generally, if you're in the business long enough, you do wind up landing a couple of good deals. And sometimes they're not the films that you expect. A lot of times you're doing it for love. You're not making nearly the kind of money that people think you are. But and again, that's the whole thing behind Skeleton Crew, is all of us have been working in the industry in some fashion or another for a very long time, and we're all here to do what we love doing. And the good part about it is we're doing it with people that we have these great relationships with each other. We've got each other's backs no matter what, and that makes it worthwhile no matter what.
So I take it Val Kilmer's not part of Skeleton Crew.
He is. No, he's not going to. That's not going to happen. I was going to say, he just came over for coffee this morning. It was lovely.
Well, Hearts of Darkness, we all know Harry Manfredini did the music to a majority of the Friday the 13th films. I'm not sure if he did them all, but I do know he did Jason Goes to Hell. How is your music for Hearts of Darkness go compared to his? Like, are you going to take cues from him, or are you going to do your own thing?
Well, there's, again, this was a conversation with Adam where I know that, and Adam loved Harry, but because of Sean, Adam wasn't able to work with Harry directly at all. Adam didn't have any say in it, and he had a lot of opinions about it, and he wanted to be involved. He just wasn't allowed. So, Harry just did what he was told to do, and so at the end of the day, it wasn't Harry's fault, but it was just not exactly what Adam would have wanted. So, kind of, it's going to be a combination of honoring a lot of. Harry came up with the whole.
Yep.
That was him.
Yep.
He came up with that, and the whole idea behind it, which was brilliant. It's like he's the man.
Yep.
So we want as much of what he did as possible, but also kind of make it more of what Adam wanted in the first place, and kind of bring it up to date a little bit too. Have a little bit of fun with it, and we'll know more once we get a little somewhat of a rough cut going, and Adam and I can sit down, but that's the general idea. It's like a little bit of Harry, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It's gonna be good.
I hope he gets to bring in Victor Miller on this.
What's that?
I hope he brings Victor Miller in on this.
Help me out. Victor is
the screenwriter for the original.
Oh, of course. I'm sorry. Yeah, the whole Sean Victor thing.
Yeah.
There's a lot there. Yeah.
I've had Victor on the show. Great guy. I feel bad for him.
You did. That's awesome.
Yeah. Nice guy.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. We didn't talk about the lawsuit though, but that was fine.
That's got to be a sore subject.
Yeah. Yeah.
He deserves a lot better deal than he got.
Well, I don't want to beat up on Sean, but it's like I feel like he's made a lot of enemies in the industry. Like I just heard a complaint on Facebook recently. Jim Wynorski, who was one of the people that wrote House 4, and he didn't have pleasant words. So,
okay.
Yep. I hate seeing these people that are cutting off all these outlets when they should be collaborating and creating art.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, and that's why you really take care of the relationships that are working. And because a few of those bad relationships, a Sean Cunningham here or somebody else there, can actually sour you on the entire industry.
Yep.
And it stays you right out the door, because regardless of what most people think about Hollywood is not like littered with people like that. There's a lot of them, but the majority of people are very give and take, and they're professionals. It's just the bad ones that really stick out, unfortunately. Yeah. That's like I said, you spend enough time here, you recognize the good people like Adam Marcus, and you hang on to those relationships, man, no matter what.
Here's a question. What is your favorite of the Friday the 13th franchise?
Wow. What was number 6? I gotta look that one up. Now now you got me, because now I can't remember the
Jason Lives was part 6. I had Tommy Jarvis, yeah.
Jason Lives, yeah.
Yep. I thought that Jason Lives is certainly one of the best.
Yes. I think that one kind of stuck out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm always going to have a soft spot for Jason Goes to Hell, because I do love the movie and it's Adams. But up until that point, I think I remember really liking that one. I think.
Yeah, I do too. Yep. Now here's your next question. What is your favorite music score of the franchise?
That's tough.
Yeah.
That's really, really tough.
I think my favorite is the one for part 2. I like that.
If I gave you an answer, I'd be kind of guessing. I would actually have to go back and listen to bits and pieces of them. I would almost say probably the first one, because I think Harry established a lot of those motifs in the first one.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? I need to go back and listen.
Okay.
I can't give you an honest answer.
I've seen those films so many times. I pretty much have it. I have a lot of it etched in me. But so what's up next with this film? Because I know the Indiegogo's still going on. And what are you preparing for? Do you have a score or anything that's set in stone yet?
There should be a sample that was uploaded to Vimeo. It was a trailer that we did. So I sat down and wrote the music for that, and that was kind of the first test of some different sounds and these kind of different vibes. So we banged that out. So now I've broken that up into based on my conversations with Adam, I got a few sections from there I've taken out and created individual parts that I can expand on. Because in a trailer, you jam a bunch of stuff together really fast.
Yeah.
And it changes direction very quickly. So there's some stuff that really worked there that are going to become individual pieces. And so it's really about that, just kind of coming up with the palette. I've actually been building some instruments downstairs for the last, I've been working on this for a couple of years, but it was specifically for this, big chunks of aluminum and bent metal, and it is just like a musical torture device. Yeah. Okay. You can play it with mallets and bows, so I've been recording that specifically for our next few horror projects, is come up with our own sound. It's called the Skeletonium Chromatone.
Well, here's a question for you.
Yeah.
What made you go into music? Like, how old were you when this was what you wanted to do? What piqued your interest?
Okay. I started taking piano lessons when I was 5 and continued for about 10 years and competed in statewide competitions and, theory and all this stuff, and was actually really kind of tired of it. I mean, I love being able to play piano, but there was a moment where I was at a recital. I grew up in a very small town in Minnesota, and so when I would do these competitions, if I won the competition, then the final concert was going to be in Minneapolis. So I the second time I took state honors, we were rehearsing at this place called the Schmidt Music Center, and I found this music store, and they had a synthesizer, and I'd never got my hands on one before. And forgot what year it was, probably 78, 77, somewhere around there.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be about right. And so I got my hands on this thing and started playing. It was an enormous amount of fun. And at that point, I'd already discovered Vangelis and Tomita and Tangerine Dream and all these electronic composers. So I already had an interest. That really got me interested once I just discovered the electronic end. I'm really grateful for the theory that I learned and being able to play the piano, but that moment where I was actually able to get my hand on a synthesizer really, really just lit up the room for me, and still does. Making sounds, whether it's electronically or otherwise. And now being able to, the amount of stuff that we can do on a computer is absolutely ridiculous. It makes it so much easier. Mm-hmm. It's incredible. So it was really that one moment. I was like, no, I can do this. I wanted to. If it was just playing the piano, I don't know. I might have lost interest, but yeah, it was hearing that sound coming out of that synthesizer really, yeah, like I said.
Awesome. You must have a web page to plug.
I do not. Actually, I'm
No?
the only web page that I have is part of the Skeleton Crew one.
Okay.
And, in the IMDb page. But being as how I'm composing so much more music, I think Adam's talking about releasing a lot of the stuff that was written for the movie that was not used, a lot of the Christmas music, plus we're talking about releasing the soundtrack itself as it was used in the movie on vinyl, which I'm really excited about. We'll make it a digital download too, but
vinyl's great.
Yes, it is.
Yep.
I got a ton of it.
Yep.
So at that point, yeah, I never put together a website. I just didn't see any reason to.
Okay. Well, I think you have a YouTube channel though, don't you?
Actually, I do.
I thought I saw that.
Yes, and that started off as an exercise. I want to learn how to edit video and music. And I've always been a big Gary Newman fan. Probably around that same year I played my first synthesizer, he came out with that song Cars. And
you know what? I was on your YouTube channel because I saw all these.
Right. And
yep.
So it just as an exercise, I was like, sometimes you get musically jammed up. I started doing Gary Newman covers and making videos to them. So it was a learning tool. I started uploading them, not really think anything of it. And I think I've probably done 20 of them, had a great time doing it, and met all these really, really nice people that jumped on board. I think I've had, it's hardly viral, but I think I've had about 250,000 views, which I would have been surprised at this point if I'd had 100 views. That really shocked me that it got that much traction. And I still do it. It's still a great exercise. Just taking somebody else's music and recrafting it in a different way and creating a visual. Sometimes I'll mash two songs up together. And yeah, it's been great.
Rock of Ages did a great job with mashing songs together.
Is that right?
Yeah, I love that movie, and it mashed a lot of songs together very effectively. I just wondered, do you have any charities that you want to plug on here?
That's anything to do with Lyme disease awareness.
Okay.
There's, oh God, I should have bookmarked this. When Adam reached out to me, I was very sick. I was actually sick for about 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, took a bit of a beating from that one, but I do try to support. There's several. Oh man, give me 1 second.
Yeah, Avril Lavigne got hit with that too.
Yes, she did. So did I think Daryl Hall.
Oh wow. Yeah. I did say this though, and I supported Hearts of Darkness. I asked Adam and Deborah to do the Doubtfire Face challenge for suicide and depression awareness.
I will do that in a second. I will take a nomination. I will do that because that's a fantastic. That's for suicide prevention awareness, right?
Yeah, I've had a number of my guests do this, and I threw it out to people at 13 Fanboy, and Adam said he's going to get a People's Skeleton Crew to do it, and yeah. And I know he's going to throw special nominations out to Adrian King and Debbie Sue Voorhees, who were nominated by, well, Adrian was nominated by me, but Adrian's been nominated by a few people, and so was Debbie Sue, nominated by a couple of us. So, and so
it's a lighthearted way to deal with a very, very serious topic, and yeah, bless your heart. I mean, consider me in.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So Adam said he's going to make that part of this and whatnot, and I said absolutely. So I've had a few of my guests do this as well, so that's pretty awesome. In fact, I had Nancy McLaughlin, who was in Jason Lives. She did it, and she did it in front of some of the props from the movie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So, yeah. So that is one charity I throw out there, and and I put those up. But yeah, Lyme disease is I don't know much about it, but I do know Avril Lavigne got hit with it because I was always a fan of hers.
Well, funny enough, I looked it up, and she has a Lyme Foundation herself, the Avril Lavigne Foundation. So
there you go.
Maybe that I'm not finding the one that I had contributed to. There's a few of them that are unfortunately not getting the money where it needs to be, but I think Avril, I'll look into it, but I would trust her.
Yeah.
Having gone through it.
Yep. Yeah. My favorite Avril Lavigne song is Together. It wasn't one of her singles, but it was on her second album. That's my favorite song she did, called Together. I recommend that song strongly.
Awesome. I'll look it up.
Yeah. Anything else you want to promote?
I got a couple of her B-sides in some of my playlists. And she did some really surprising left turns. I really like it when somebody's like, I didn't see that coming.
Yep, absolutely. So what else do you have coming up? Anything after Hearts of Darkness?
Yes, and honestly, I don't know how much I can talk about the deals that we have going. I should have had a conversation with Adam before.
That's okay, because maybe next year you can come back on, Happy
to. But
yeah.
I've got some scripts from him that are fantastic, and again, it's like in between other things, we're already creating musical palettes for several of the projects that he's got going. Our producer Brian Sexton is always out, working the deals, and there's just based on Adam's track record and how well Secret Santa, a lot of interest, and so there's a lot of pokers in the fire. We're ready to move on any one of these. The way the business is, it can just right at that moment where you're just about ready to give up, something pops, and so you have to keep at it for a long time. But the good thing is we're all ready to go. Skeleton Crew is a very well-oiled machine.
Awesome. Well, before I let you go, you mind doing a plug for my show?
I would be happy to.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to Greg Gilbert, Python's Python's Paradise in, let me get this right, New Brunswick, Canada.
Absolutely. Gee, I didn't even have to tell you what to say. That is awesome. That is awesome. Have you ever been up this way before?
I have not, but like I said, I grew up in Minnesota. We definitely identify on the seasons and the beautiful fall weather and all the lakes and everything. I miss it. I don't miss the cold.
No. Well, Tim, thank you so much for coming on here, and I'm more than happy to have you come on when you got other projects on the go, and we'll talk about that and
absolutely. And thank you, Greg. I really enjoyed it.
Well, I appreciate it. You have yourself a wonderful day and keep creating some wonderful, unique, creative tunes.
Thank you so much, brother.
No problem. You too. You take care too.